Hello and welcome to the Temple Without Boundaries. I am your host, the Reverend Octavia Brooks, and I'm the shamanic healer. And I'm welcoming you to this month's teleceremony, where the topic is finding your way when you're lost and confused. So I've had many different times in my life where there was where it was just really hard for me to find direction. And I have developed, quite a few tools, a toolkit to create clarity for myself and ways of involving the divine beings, ways of healing my energy, clearing my energy so that I could get exactly what I needed in place to understand what my next steps were. And sometimes we do our best to clarify our path, and we still have to kind of lie fallow a little bit and let the path come to us too. Let that understanding and that clarity and that guidance come to us too. It's a little bit of a delicate balance, and I'd like to start out today by sharing some tools with you, and that'll get you mentally prepared for going into the journey. So when we go into the journey in the second half hour, we'll be clearing ourselves, calling in divine beings, and really going for it to clear our path. So this is going to be a teleceremony that you might want to replay whenever you're having a moment and feeling like you don't know what decision to make, what direction to go. I'm really happy to offer this to you. So the first thing I'd like to do is call the Temple Without Boundaries. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with that, the Temple Without Boundaries is an energetic container. It creates sacred space, and it's timeless and boundless. So I'm going to call this energy field in for anyone who is on the call, participating live, as well as folks who are participating whenever you participate, anyone who's listening to the replay. So I do this by I call upon the Temple Without Boundaries, and I ask her to bring all of her resources from throughout all time, space, and dimension, from all sacred people, places, and things. And I ask her to open her gates, and open her borders and boundaries to contain all of us and all of our higher selves, all of our higher guides, all of the divine beings who are meant to participate and join us this evening. And I'd also like to reach out to the 7 directions and anchor the energy of this session this evening and bring in clarity, allow me to communicate effectively and bring you the information that you need. So starting in the east with the element of air, sending our love out into the element of air and asking for new ways of thinking, clarified thoughts, open-mindedness about new pathways and directions, and the willingness to surrender thought patterns that no longer serve us. So welcoming east and the element of air, please anchor the energy in today's teleceremony. We're reaching out to the south and the element of fire, and asking the fire of transformation again to surrender and release anything that is burdening us from our past life, from any aspect of our life that is an anchor that is holding us back from stepping forth on our true path, and asking for the inspiration from our souls to teach us how to live a creative life, to teach us how to live an inspired life. So welcoming south and the direction of and the element of fire, and asking you to please anchor the energy of tonight's teleceremony. Opening our hearts and connecting into the west and to water. And with water, I ask that you please teach us the rhythms and the ebbs and flows of life, so that if we have an ebb, we can have faith that there will be a flow. And if we have a lack of clarity or uncertainty, we can have faith that the clarity and certainty will come back, just as surely as the tides come in the ocean, the waves come in the ocean, and the creeks and rivers flow. So asking water to please provide us this soothing, nurturing balm of faith, and asking you to also please anchor the energy in tonight's teleceremony. And opening our hearts and connecting in with North and the element of Earth. And as always, asking Earth to anchor us as needed in the third dimensional reality, in our material world, in taking steps through the material world that ground our spiritual understanding, in making an impact, making being of greatest service, and making the world a better place. So asking you to encode your powers into our physical level, into our bodies, so that we can materially show up in the world, physical third dimensional reality. Also asking North and Earth to please anchor the energy in this tele-ceremony. Now reaching down into the Earth and connecting into the heart of the center of the Earth, asking that heartbeat to please pulse up and beat and allow the divine feminine to rise up and bless our sacred circle here this evening, to bless our ceremony with the consciousness of the divine feminine, the consciousness of our Mother Earth, creating a safe and sacred foundation for the work here and anchoring our energy. Reaching up to the great above, calling upon the divine masculine energy, the heartbeat of consciousness in the center of the universe, center of the multiverse, and asking that sublime energy to rain down on us and give us new inspirations and open our minds, and especially charge our nervous systems and our synapses in our brain. So thank you and welcome to Divine Feminine, Divine Masculine. And in the center, calling upon the heartbeat of consciousness that flows throughout all time, space, and dimension, which is divine love, and calling upon divine love, asking divine love to open his and her heart into my heart, and blessing our entire space and this entire tele-ceremony with that transformative force of love. With all of those beautiful energies joining us, I'm calling upon you also, all of your higher selves, everyone who will ever listen to this tele-ceremony, calling upon your higher selves and all of your highest guides. And also asking all the divine beings who are appropriate for this tele-ceremony to please be present here and harmonize all of the energies and hold space for all the energies that need to happen this evening. So some of the tools that I want to introduce to you are related to clearing energies. So these are some things that are self-analysis. These are good questions to ask whenever you're feeling confused or lost. And what I would recommend is to identify obstacles as much as possible. So sit in meditation and you could even brainstorm or free write about this. If you're not familiar with free writing, it's just allowing your mind to flow onto the page unedited. And that is actually a really fantastic practice that I've employed to come up with a lot of really cool creative ideas. So free writing, I'm just now bringing that through as a way to identify obstacles and any other aspects of your situation that are not serving you. So when you're identifying obstacles, one thing that's really important is to look at what it is that might be hidden from you. So first identify any really overt obstacles, things that are just obvious, that are in your way. And when you're doing that, I think sometimes it's really hard to know what's all the different levels of the conscious obstacles that we already know about. Like we might perceive that we don't have enough money and we can't possibly do the next thing unless we have enough money. So if we think about why we might not have enough money, there's a breakdown there. What is it that is not allowing enough money to flow? Is it something to do with your priorities related to money? Are you spending unwisely? Are you not bringing in enough money? Is there a way that you could bring in money? Are you frozen? Are you staying creative enough in those ways of generating money flow? So that's an example of how to take an obstacle and really start breaking it down to its root cause. Sometimes we just have this idea, I have something going on and we don't actually do the thought process about what it is that is really underlying that, and really taking responsibility and owning our own obstacles. How are we getting in the way of ourselves? So these are all conscious things that we can easily think about, but sometimes we just don't take the time to think about it. So identifying your obstacles, I think, is really, really important. One of the things about your obstacles that is a little bit more esoteric is, where are you hiding from your true power? So if you're aware of where you're, let's say that there's an area of your life where energy really is flowing and you know what that feels like. Now you're in an area, or you're noticing an area in your life that feels stuck. It feels like you can't move forward. You're kind of lurching. Sometimes the symptom is really a stop-start and not you just don't have continuous flow, or you feel connected to the flow of energy sometimes and sometimes disconnected. Well, it's important for you to take a look at, what is it that you don't want to see? So this is a good analysis to do in partnership and companionship with identifying the conscious obstacles. This is really, what is it that I really don't want to see? And sometimes just asking yourself that question starts to open your awareness up. So now you're getting into the next level of awareness. You're creating awareness where you didn't have any awareness at all before. And you might start getting into some of those outmoded belief systems that are no longer serving you. Perhaps even getting into some of the unconscious belief systems that you may have inherited from friends or family. So what is it that you're hiding from yourself? Where are your shadows taking over and not really giving you anything to go on? So kind of thwarting yourself. And that's a little bit of a catch-22 question, because it's really challenging to see ourselves clearly in those shadow areas. I mean, our shadow selves, which is part of our ego, but also part of our unconscious, can be very, very tricky. So don't fault yourself if you don't uncover some ways that you're thwarting yourself, but it is worth asking yourself the question, because you probably will get one or two answers that will really help you clear something big. So a couple of other things that I would recommend in your analysis of what is it that's holding you back from clarity. Here's a big one. Well, I'm gonna say that one. Okay, so identifying confusions. So chances are, when you have a lack of clarity, there's a bunch of unknowns or things that you just don't know how to proceed. What is it that you really don't know? Identify where you're confused, where there are open questions. This is really my analytical brain here. Clarity sometimes it can be much more easily in our grasp than we give ourselves credit for. We're all really intelligent people. People in this community are very growth oriented and really do appreciate this personal evolution. So I'm just giving you some self-analysis tools here. So what are you confused about? Make a list of what you're confused about. This is really brilliant to do in the free writing, because you can just kind of get into a bitch session and complain to yourself on paper, and it can really be miraculous what comes out sometimes. So identify what you're confused about, because you may find you just need to take a class, or maybe you just need to get some coaching, or maybe you need to get a perspective from a friend. And those are really low-hanging fruit. If that's all you have to do to get a really clear idea of your path, it's great. Sometimes the confusion relates to having too many different choices and not knowing which ones are best. So what if you prioritize the different options and then systematically try them each until you can educate yourself about what you really like and what you don't like? So what is it that you're confused about? It's worth asking the question. So then there's fears. What are you afraid of? Sometimes fears will block us from understanding what we want and what we think we want. fears of moving forward. That's another variation of how are we getting in the way of ourselves? Where are we operating out of fear? Where are we making choices out of fear? It's my personal philosophy that fear should not be allowed to hold any kind of sway over me in my life. When I feel the fear, I look at it carefully and I look at how that fear got in. Where did it come from? And a lot of it may not even be yours. It may just be some ambient fear left over from a family message that you received, but a lot of fears may not. You might be able to just, they may be nameless until you sit and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? And then once you have that awareness, once you have the fear kind of conscious, then you have so much more choice. You have the power of choice over how you want to address that fear. Do you want to keep operating from that place of fear? Do you want to let it go? Do you want to have courage and overcome that fear? Or is the fear really meaningful? So one thing I mentioned in that last little bit there was maybe the fears aren't even yours. This is something that can really create a lot of confusion if you are carrying around someone else's energy and you didn't even know it. I really want to emphasize this point because in our unified field of consciousness, where we are all one energetically, and especially where our energy field extends out maybe 30, 50 feet around us. So anyone who crosses our path, a lot of people who cross our path may actually deposit energies in our field that can give us that sense of confusion, and they can stay around a long time. I once had a living situation, and I really didn't believe that I was very vibrationally sensitive. I was really rather naive, and I had this living situation where in the next bedroom over, I lived with a young man who was extremely depressed, and he just couldn't really dig out of it. God bless him. And in my room, in the morning, sometimes I would wake up feeling really depressed, but I knew I had a lot in my life that I appreciated and I enjoyed, and there was a lot of aspects of my life that were going really well. And at this depression, I'm like, where did that come from? And then I started asking the question, was it really mine? Is this energy really mine? And the answer was no, it's leaking into your room from the next room over. And I was in the vibrational field of that young man, and kind of his depression was somewhat contagious to me. So in that case, I created wards and I gave my room a blessing and established a temple in my room. And as long as I stayed in my room, I was energetically clear and clean and safe, and I could just safely operate. And then when I went out into the hallway, when I went into common spaces, I still kind of had to shield myself a little bit so that I wasn't accidentally picking up on his energy. And it was just not very healthy for me to be around. So eventually, since it's a lot of extra work to clean other people's energy out of your space, which I'll tell you how to do that in a minute, you may want to choose to get away from people and choose not to have people in your vibrational field who are somewhat toxic and are causing you extra work. I had to clean his energy out of my space regularly, and I was really happy when I could move into a much more wonderful living situation. So I promise to tell you how to get someone's energy out of your space. So once you have identified that maybe some energy that you have might not be yours, and what's a little tricky here about identifying someone else's energy is if it's someone really close to you, a spouse, a sibling, someone in your family, really close friend, usually those people are in your life, especially family members, your vibration is very similar to them. And so whatever they have going on that's in your field could be a little bit tricky to identify. But the way you do it is you can just ask the question, truth. Is there anyone else's energy in my field? Or truth, or truth or body or heart. So all of these are really good sources of guidance, and we'll talk more about those later in the session. But truth, Show me the energy that is not mine. Show me where it is. And most of the time, you'll feel a sensation in your body in response to that question, or body, truth. Show me in my body where someone else's energy is. And, literally, I've had a friend of mine had a really upset stomach and cleared a bunch of family energy out of his field by just sending it back to them. So once you have identified that someone else's energy is in your field, you just say, I'm sending your energy back to you with love and light and consciousness. Love, light, and consciousness pretty much covers all the bases, and then they can receive that energy back. And chances are they need it themselves to move forward. People have really poor energy habits in general, and they'll tend to dump energy in other people's spaces without being conscious of it at all. And sometimes they're just they have a really difficult personality and they're kind of spewing energy out, and that gets on you too. So the first thing you can do in all of this might be one of those things where you just do this, energetically to hygiene, do this as an energetic hygiene maneuver every day, which is to identify anyone energy who's not compatible with you, who is not harmonious with you, and send that energy back to them with love, light, and consciousness. So, and I had a friend of mine do this, and his stomach issue just immediately cleared up. It wasn't his at all. It was some anxiety from a parent about his situation. So we have to stay clear and clean of other people's energies, because it creates these confusion symptoms. And sometimes that's all it takes to find our clarity. So it's a really powerful tool. So one of the things I want to talk about next, this is a question of how receptive we need to be. How much do we need to pursue clarity? So if you think of all of these analytical tools I gave you earlier as a toolkit, you could, if you were the type of person like me who thought I was tragically flawed and I had to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig to get rid of anything and everything that might be getting in my way, I was very harsh with myself and took big swords and knives to cut away parts of me that I didn't like. If you're one of those types of people, then you have a tendency to work really, really hard to get anything in your life, but to get clarity is just one example. So working really, really hard to get clarity. You identify all these things that you need to change, and you dive in with both feet, and you work to get all the changes made so you can have the clarity, so you know what decision it is. So balancing that with allowing the clarity to come in. Sometimes we create a kind of projective field around ourselves. We create a field around ourselves that will prevent us from receiving what we're meant to receive, and that can include information and clarity about our path. So be conscious of a balance between, and this is really a masculine and feminine kind of question, but be conscious and aware of a balance between your desires, your really, really, really strong desire for clarity, or really strong desire to know or to have, versus the ability to receive that information or that thing or that life situation that you desire. There is a very delicate balancing act in that, and I'm going to let you judge that for yourself. I know that I've had a habit myself of pushing really, really hard, pushing so hard that I'm pushing away, and only just recently having, really done healing work on my feminine side, healing work on my masculine side, have I been able to feel like I'm just receiving a lot better. And I push, I'm active, but I'm not an overachiever. I'm not trying to overdo it anymore. I'm really wanting to give myself the opportunity to experience what receptivity is, even if that means clarity in my path, clarity in my truth, clarity in my knowingness. So all of these tools are ways of clearing energy. So you can heal your energy field and uncover your knowingness. This is what you really want to get to, is that sense of knowingness and the truth that is your truth. And this is when I invoked fire earlier. This is our soul's passion really coming through and speaking to us, inspiring us to live a creative life and to live our own life that's not dictated by outmoded belief systems or borrowed belief systems from other people, any kind of constraints that are artificial. We just want to go on our own and live our life the way we want. This is a toolkit to uncover your knowingness. So your soul really does know, and a good way to find out if you know is where in your body do you feel strong, where in your body. So your body can be one of the tools that you use to get information, and you can learn how to use your body as a yes and no mechanism. And this also applies to using your heart. And you can use your body or you can use your heart, are two really powerful ways to get clarity and to understand what your knowingness is. And the way to use those tools are to first kind of calibrate. So get used to what a yes means and what a no means. So with your body, for example, you can say, hey, is water good for me? Body, tell me how you feel about me drinking water. And your body will give you a response. Sit in meditation and really be willing to hear your body's messages. Okay, body, what do you think about cigarettes, for example? Or what do you think about me eating a cup of sugar? And then see what your body says. Chances are your body's going to be like, "Arr," and kind of give you a really strong sign that, no, thank you. No, not that stuff. So now you've got your yes and your no in your body. And you can start to understand if your body is into something or really doesn't want it. Now, why would we use our body as a psychic tool? This is, you could say, scrying is one of the old-timey pagan terms for this. Why would you use your body to scry an answer to a question? Well, our bodies are actually a very highly tuned, infinite connectivity device. So it's an antenna. Your body is really a psychic antenna. And so this is some information about how to develop your psychic skills. Get to that no, get to that yes, and from there develop your own understanding of your body's messages. And I'm not saying this is an overnight thing. It could be for you, and I hope it is, but it might take a little practice. So same thing with your heart. Your heart has a lot of synapses, has a lot of neurotransmitters, and a lot of divine intelligence comes through your heart. So your heart can also give you those really good messages. And with your heart, a yes might be thinking about a loved one, and thinking about somebody that you're just really, really clearly, no holds barred. You just dig that person, and ask your heart, hey heart, how do you feel about that person? And learn how to feel the response of your heart and interpret that message, and then find something that's just a no way, like maybe a place that you would never want to live. Like, I don't want to live next to a sewage treatment plant, for example. So heart, how would you like to live next to a sewage treatment plant? And your heart would be like, give you that no answer. So again, that's a way of calibrating your heart's yes and no, just like we calibrated your body's yes and no. Now you've got two psychic tools that can help you find clarity. Let's see. So there's a third one that I also really, really love. And this is a little bit more general, but this is kind of really more of an overall energy feeling. So in this case, you might feel this answer to your question in your body, in your heart, in your knowingness. But this is what's light and what's heavy. Heaviness is your no, and light would be your yes. So again, you can calibrate your yes and no, calibrate your light and heavy. And the nice thing about light and heavy is it's maybe a little easier to um, translate than the gradations of yes, gradations of no in your body or in your heart. So the gradations of how light something is or how heavy something is, or whether it's just neutral and there's really not a lot of energy there at all. So light and heavy can maybe be one of the easier tools to use. So play with these and play with these after you've uncovered your knowingness. I might suggest one way I've used this is I've got maybe a lot of different choices that I want to make. As an entrepreneur, I'm in the mode of kind of designing my life. You know, I guess they don't call us lifestyle entrepreneurs for no reason. And I have a huge variety of interests, and I can't possibly pursue them all. So I'll do a bubble chart, and I'll put down all the different interests that I might have, and then I will do an energetic reading on each aspect of that part of my life to see if it's light or heavy, to see what my heart thinks about it. And so that helps me figure out my path forward and deprioritize the things that are just not getting a positive energy read. So these are some really good tools for helping you find your way. And now I'm about to go into the journey. Taking a deep breath and getting really comfortable in your body and closing your eyes and starting off at a place that feels really sacred and special to you. And I suggest potentially a place where you might want to, where maybe you've been before, but a natural place where there's light, there's really beautiful airflow, there's a body of water nearby, and you're really connected to the land wherever this place is. So it might be a place that's made up, or it might be a place that you've been before. But this is a good starting place, a power place to start from. So closing your eyes and imagining that you are in that power place, in that place in nature that is really, really nurturing. So once you've arrived at that place, call upon a guide. So this can be any one of your guides, no pressure to pick any particular guide, but allow a guide to arrive and trust that they're there. So this is regardless of whether you're seeing or feeling that guide, just know that they are arriving now. And this is the guide to help you find your pathway. We're going to take the exercise that we've done, some of the tools that we talked about at the beginning, especially identifying fears and confusions and shadow selves. We're going to go into the journey with that information and find ourselves cleansed and healed of that, and then open our ways. So closing your eyes and noticing now that your guide is giving you a signal and helping you find out, helping you notice that there is a path that you didn't see before. And the guide takes you over to this path and you begin to walk down it, and you find yourself in a really sweet little forest of baby trees, saplings. They're all about 15, 20 feet high, blowing in the breeze, and the light is streaming through the leaf tops, the tree tops, and cascading around on the forest floor, and just the light plays so beautiful, and you realize that you are in a sacred forest, a really, really beautiful sacred forest. And continuing to walk through this forest, enjoying yourself, hearing the sounds of nature all around you, and then noticing that there's a kind of a brightness in the woods, and you kind of think that maybe there's a clearing, an opening. And sure enough, when you get to that point, you come out into a beautiful, beautiful, lush green field full of birds and flowers. It's just idyllic. And as you come out into this field, you start to see people coming out to meet you in this field with all the other people around you and who are on the same journey with you. So enjoy greeting these special people, enjoy their company, enjoy these companions on the journey. And collectively, you all notice at the end of the field a building that's so incredibly vast, so incredibly gigantic that you can't possibly perceive the ends of it, and you can't perceive how tall it is. But you feel compelled to walk towards this building and up the stairs. And as you come up onto the porch, the doors, the very ornate and gigantic doors that no human could ever possibly move, they open noiselessly and soundlessly and allow you to enter into the central chamber of the temple without boundaries. And here in this central chamber, there are altars to each of the 7 directions. And you get into the temple and you notice the walls are decorated with beautiful, beautiful ornate statuary. And this is a very, very sacred, sacred place. So everyone gathers in a circle in the center of the temple without boundaries in this main room. This is all your guides and all the companions on this journey. And your guide begins to gesture you over to a particular chamber of the central room. And going into this chamber, first of all, it's really hard to get the door open. You have to kind of put your back into it. And you oof that door open and go in, and it just, the air is so dense and heavy. Your guide has to kind of push you through the door, push you into this room. You're not really comfortable here at all. And it kind of sucks. And you feel this thickness and density in the air. It almost feels like there are spider webs grabbing at you. The door closes shut really heavily behind you. And you're just, the air is so humid and dense and it's dark. You can't see anything. And you're kind of groping your way along. Your guide is there, kind of pushing you forward, just, and you come to understand as your emotions are just torn about, and you're starting to feel fear, and you feel confusion, and you feel lost, and you're just starting to feel all these different emotions. Where you're at with this fear, all these different ugly thoughts, hating yourself because you don't know which way to go, agonizing over the decisions, yes, no. All of these feelings are just really up for you and dragging you down. Sometimes you feel like things are grabbing at you and pulling you away. And you know that if you weren't there with your guide, you would feel just really terrified and wanting to run screaming. But your guide is holding you there firm and giving you courage and giving you strength. Some of the hands that are touching you in this space start to feel stabilizing. They start to feel stabilizing and gentle and nurturing. And they start to feel like they're lifting weights off of you. And some of these weights, when they come off of you, you feel a little unmoored. Maybe it's something that you've been carrying around that was so familiar for so long that you're not really sure how to proceed without it. But there's something blowing into your heart, and you come to understand that a divine being is here in the shadows, in this dark, dark place. Even in this dark, dark place, there are glowing divine beings who are here supporting you in your humanity, in your path through life, and supporting you and bringing illumination to you on your path. And as you begin to feel a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter, you actually are able to perceive some of these helper beings as they touch you, as they pull things away from you that you no longer need. And yes, it can feel a little bit more confusing, but it feels better than it was before you started, with all the heaviness and the stuckness and your legs hardly able to move at all. Now you're starting to feel a little bit lighter. Maybe there's still a lot of unknowns. Maybe this space is still really, really unfamiliar and you're not really sure what to do, how to proceed, but everyone is supporting you. All the divine beings are stabilizing you. You can feel the energy of earth, air, fire, and water. You know your guide is there. Anytime you begin to falter, your arm is caught, you're held up. And gradually, a sense of courage begins to develop in your core, a sense of strength. And this is your true essence being revealed as more and more layers are peeled away, peeled off of you. You're starting to see more and more clarity, and you begin to see the divine beings and they're glowing. As the divine beings glow around you, the room becomes a little bit brighter. You're starting to be able to identify this place that you're in. It's a place full of tools, a place full of implements to help you find your way. And you see a compass, you see a telescope, you see a map, you see a boat that's ready to carry you away if necessary, bicycle, mode of transportation, lots of different modes of transportation, a skateboard, all different kinds of ways that can carry you ahead as the light begins to get brighter and brighter in this space, and you become uncovered, and you notice that a light inside you, in your core, in your belly, in your heart, is starting to glow. And that light inside your belly and in your heart glowing begins to get stronger. It's associated with a sense of courage, and you feel a physical strength as well. You begin to feel like you can stand up straight. And you're starting to realize that this part of you, these parts of you that are glowing, are really giving you what you need. You start to feel that sense in your body of being pulled forward with grace and ease. And that pulling forward is an indication of your knowingness, an indication that you are really truly aware, you're becoming aware of what your path truly is. Your path is beginning to show up for you as these lights from your heart and lights from your belly begin to shine the way that you need to go. All the divine beings beginning to glow brighter, and now you feel surrounded by light, and you're radiating light from within as well. And here is where you begin to know what your path is, what your journey is. As your light shines forward, you feel compelled and you feel drawn and pulled, and you feel a push behind you, and you almost feel like you are in a river with flow flowing in behind you and pushing you forward. You cannot go any other way except to follow that energy. Anytime you try to go against it just to test, you notice that you immediately start feeling heavy, you immediately start feeling confused again, and so you are choosing to open your way and follow the light and follow these messages of clarity through feeling the flow, feeling the lightness, and feeling pulled forward on your path. So as you are finding your way, the divine beings and your guide are opening doors for you. And as every door opens, you find yourself compelled to push forward. Any place where there are numerous doors or there doesn't seem to be a path, You shine your light, and suddenly a door is created. A pathway opens in front of you. And as you go through each one of these doorways, as you progress down your pathway, you collect tools that are needed to support you on this pathway. Gradually, you come to a place where you become aware that you're at a point on your pathway where it's time to take action, and you pause there for a few minutes to assess what action to take. So the inspiration has arrived, the inspiration has landed, and now it's time to distill it into the requisite tasks and action steps that are needed in order to fulfill that particular step on your path. And you find that all the tools you need are right there, exactly where you need them. All the divine beings, all your support and help is right there, exactly where you need it, exactly when you need it. And you give thanks, and you just feel grateful for this moment on your path where the clarity has arrived. You have received the clarity from within and without, and allowing that to radiate throughout your whole entire body, your whole entire being. Feeling full, feeling cherished by the universe, by receiving this divine clarity and having the confidence to take action on that path. And as you feel full to overflowing, and you feel full with gratefulness and appreciation for this life that you've created for yourself, you start to feel like you are floating, lifted up through from the room you were in the temple, and floating up, being accompanied by the divine beings and being accompanied by your guide. You magically float up and find yourself once again in the central chamber of the Temple Without Boundaries. Not really sure how you got there, but feeling that sense of fullness, not allowing yourself to be distracted for 1 second from knowing exactly what your next steps are to do, and finding that clarity within yourself and all the motivation you need to take those action steps on that path. Taking a couple of deep breaths here to really encode and integrate the information about your path, being clear and open, and that you can always get to this place of clarity and openness. Feeling this gratitude and feeling all of this knowingness in your body, and knowing that you can get back to the state of consciousness anytime you wish. Feeling grateful and appreciative of that knowledge and inspiration. One more deep breath here. And the group of travelers, your companions on this journey, begin to file out the door, out the front door of the Temple Without Boundaries. Walking down and out the front porch and out into the beautiful field, giving thanks and gratitude for all of these fellow companions who are on your path with you, and saying goodbye for now, and knowing that you will discover each other again on the next journey. Everyone begins to find their way back to their pathway through the beautiful forest of saplings, continuing to carry what you learned from this journey in your body, in your cellular memory, the power of knowing your path, the power of knowingness, the power of clarity on your path. And taking all of that knowledge with you, all of those new tools, that newfound awareness, into the sacred forest. And in the sacred forest, finding that your hearing is more acute, your awareness of all the other divine beings in this forest, all those spirit helpers in this forest, is much greatly enhanced and heightened now that all these veils have been peeled away from you and your essence, your soul's essence, has been revealed. Gradually and naturally finding yourself arriving once again at your starting place in your beautiful natural setting, natural spot, resting there a moment and saying thank you to your guide for their assistance, for their support, for their encouragement, especially holding you up and stabilizing you in darkness, that darkness of unknowing, where you were before, where you will never be again, now that you have all of these tools with you. So giving thanks to your guide and saying goodbye, allowing them to retreat to wherever they need to go, bringing knowing that they will come back to assist you anytime you call upon them. So taking 1 or 2 deep breaths here as we say goodbye to our journey, bringing it to a close, and asking you to take a sip of water or pat your body a little bit, bringing yourself back into your body, coming out of that deep meditation, that deep trance, and returning into the room where you're listening to my voice. So I'd like to invite you to use all the tools that you've learned here today, those tools inside and out, the analytical tools, the scrying tools with your body, with your heart, the heaviness, the lightness, and paying attention to all of those tools, never forgetting that you have this wonderful toolkit to find your way out of confusion and that sense of feeling lost. You too can create clarity any time in your life that you desire. You just got to remember sometimes. So this has been a real pleasure to share this time with you. And I wanted to let you know that this is a group energy healing working here. First, identifying the things that needed to be released, and then bringing in the tools and attributes, releasing that, clarifying ourselves, cleansing ourselves of that which no longer serves us, and then bringing in the energies that will help us move forward on our path. And this is a group energy healing. If you're ever interested in receiving energy healing, shamanic energy healing from me, I encourage you to book a welcome session with me and try out the work for yourself. And I promise you, you won't regret it at all. We'll be able to go very deep, very quickly, and help you resolve any feelings of stuckness, help you to reclaim your inner motivation, your own sense of encouragement, and move ahead with that thing, that project that's making you feel really stuck, opening your own pathways. So you can do that on the website, templewithoutboundaries.com/welcome-session. That's templewithoutboundaries.com/welcome-session. And feel free, there's a link there where you can book that with me, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. So that is our time for today, the teleceremony for this month, and really appreciate that you came here to join me for this. And really would love to hear what you think about it. You're welcome to go in Facebook at look up Temple Without Boundaries in Facebook and add a comment there about anything you've experienced in this session that really helped you out. So signing off for now, saying goodbye, and with deep appreciation and gratitude, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.